we will get this going in just a second. Sounds good. That's how people usually do it. I'll just bring you guys into the game so you can see what's going on here. Who are you, Captain Buttbeard? You are... I don't know. CalebAracous, alright. Hey, where'd he go? There he is. So I know this is fairly informal production quality, but that's the name of the game today. But so it looks like these guys are ready to go. Grubby's saying go go. Alright. So this is going to be on Foxtrot Labs, which is a new map, and honestly I haven't played on this map very much. Let me get my music off of here. I've played on this a few times, and most of these maps are really weird, but this is like a really small 4-player map. But we'll talk more about it once we are actually in the game, which we should be here pretty soon. This, of course, is a PvZ. I know Gemini is quite good. I've never seen CalebAracous play, but I have played a lot of his clanmates before. So he should be fairly decent. We should be in for a fairly interesting game here. So we'll have to see what's going on. Of course, in games like this, if they're not super, you know, like... Whoa. They're not like WCS replays. I typically go for more of a learning style. So if there's information to be gained here as far as learning more about the game, we definitely will. This is such a weird map because like the lighting on here is so strange. It almost makes me look like my monitor is blurry, and I don't know if this is like it for everybody else because I hear people say that they haven't had any problems. So I don't know, but either way, our players here are Gemini spawning in the top left of this map, and his opponent is the Red Zerg, CalebAracous. And this is a strange map because it is 4-player maps, but the spawn distance is actually fairly close, so it doesn't take that long to scout your opponent. So we'll have to figure out what these guys want to do, and of course it's mostly going to hinge on what the Protoss does. And coming down here for a pylon here at the natural is going to signal Forge expand, or perhaps a super greedy gate expand, which some people do. Like they do Nexus and then gate right after, but I don't think that's what we're going to see. And Grubby, of course, BMing, lagging us out here. But either way, so for those of you guys that don't know, there are some chat commands that you can put into the chat if you wanted to figure out more about the tournament. This is to help benefit a friend of ours named Kyle Miller Treyu, who was in a really bad car accident on the freeway. He got hit by a dump truck on the driver's side, which is really bad. He is currently recovering right now, and the road is going to be very long and treacherous for him. So this is kind of a fundraiser for him and his family. And type in !Kyle in chat if you wanted to get to his donation page. Every little bit helps, and it goes a long way. The family really appreciates how much support they've gotten so far from everyone. And it's really cool to see the StarCraft community kind of coming together and helping that out. Now, what we're seeing here is this probe is trying to verify when the pool is, and may come down here to try and block the hatchery. And he needs to get it down, and yeah, there we go. He just barely got it down in time. So Gemini in response is just going to Nexus first, which is pretty common against this. 16 supply. So when he's sending his probe down here to get that taken care of. I'm going to open up Twitch chat really quickly so that if anybody's talking to me I can see that. And you guys can talk to me anytime, so feel free. So we do have the Nexus first coming down here. Pylon is on the way, and I am on a stream delay as well since this is a live tournament. Don't want anybody getting some information that's super relevant on the time. So go ahead and send out information to the, or rather chat to me on my stream chat, and I'll be able to see it. So Forge coming down here, nothing too unusual. Should be a gateway coming up next, or perhaps a pylon if he's feeling greedy. Yeah, it is a pylon. Although it's really not a big deal, because if you look at the spawning pool, by the time the cannon will already be done well in time. So that's the whole idea behind this, and you can see him trying to block the third hatchery. Some players, particularly around the level that Caleb is, will just go ahead and take a gas and be aggressive against somebody that's denying them bases. So this is what we might see, considering he's not trying to fight that probe anymore to get that expansion down. Looks like he's resending it now, so we'll see if that's what he wants to do. And of course, these are best of threes. I didn't learn enough about this interface to learn how to program in the scores and whatnot, and the last time I tried it didn't work. So I guess I'll just announce the scores as they become relevant. Right now, this is the first game, so 0-0. Yeah, in Twitch chat it says they thought Gemini was against Captain Buttbeard. This is Captain Buttbeard. That's just his gamer tag. That was just his ID on the tournament site. So, yeah. He should really change his name to that, considering it's a pretty pro name, but there's a little moose on here. Anyway, Cybernetics Core coming up right now, a Photon Cannon on the way as well. So everything is really locked down here. Is this actually tight? I think so. I don't think that should be an issue. And like we were talking about, the third base is coming down now for Caleb. So the next stage here is to try and see what tech the Protoss drops after the Cybernetics Core. A lot of times on Forge Expands it is going to be a Stargate, considering that's the fastest way to get out units that are going to protect you for a while. Look at this base design, by the way. Such an awkward little design of the map here. Really, really interesting, and we'll talk about that here in a second once the tech starts being shown. He doesn't really have the money right now. He is short on minerals to drop that, so we'll see what he wants to do. But the minerals here kind of acting as a wall at one of these bases. Such a strange map. And then there's also rocks leading down to a kind of oddly positioned third base for the Protoss. And of course the Zerg has to take a different third because he's facing his opponent a different way. And like we thought, it is going to be a Stargate, so nothing too unusual there. Still trying to seek around is Caleb, being pretty diligent about looking for pylons and whatnot. Grubby saying sorry. I don't know if he's lagging or if that was the wrong chat or whatever, but yeah, I think he is just having connection problems. So, Grubby goes ahead and bows out of this, but there's a sentry on the way, being a little bit safe here. We have to see what kind of production is going to come out of this Stargate. It could be an Oracle, could be a Phoenix. Void Ray is extremely rare. It is a Phoenix, so this is going to be more standard play. Typically, if you went Oracle first, you would actually just take an expansion right away, considering you can protect yourself from Zerglings and whatnot. But Oracles, or rather Phoenix, is going to be a slower expand. You're usually going to get a Robo and Colossus out as well. And on these positions, if you can actually sit your Colossus down here, this is a really strong build for these spawn positions. So if you're Caleb, you have to start considering that and think about what you can do to respond to that. Anything like a Hydra timing is really not going to work, assuming they land good force fields, because only about 4 force fields will block this whole thing off, and you can protect your natural wall as well with the same army if you knock the rocks down. So it's a really favorable position for Protoss right now, and like we were talking about, there's the Robo coming up now. And eventually this will be into Colossus, I'd have to imagine. It's pretty rare to do anything else, at least after showing Robo. Some players will go Blink, but they usually open Oracle off that anyway. And sensing this is what's going on, Caleb does have spores in each mineral line, so he is doing that correctly. Hydra Den is on the way, so like we're talking about, I don't think a Hydra timing or anything like that is going to work out too well. But we'll see if that's what he wants to do. The Phoenix do go ahead and pick up an Overlord, so they're already kind of paying for themselves, and usually they'll just come over here and park themselves by the gas and pick off some gas drones. We'll have to see if that's what happens. And so far, no. I think these Phoenix just want to figure out what's going on first. And once he sees the Hydra, then he's going to be pretty happy about that. This is different, though. The Warp Prism coming out, and may line up with the +1 finishing up, depending on where he puts that Warp Prism out. This could be just for a Phoenix Zealot timing, which is fairly popular. It's not as strong, at least economically, as the third base. Oh, cool. Somebody just went ahead and dropped in a donation there. Thanks, man. Executor Adun dropped in $50, so really appreciate that donation, man. So the Colossus is coming up here, and a Observer is coming out as well. So yeah, I was just going to say, it seems a little weird to do a Phoenix Zealot timing, and this is actually not going to be for that. He's clearing out Overlords so he can do a Sentry drop, and just be a little bit annoying by blocking off the ramp here with just one force field. So we'll see what he's able to do with that as the Warp Prism is rallying out. And the Phoenixes, you'll notice they have cleared out any Overlords that could have seen this coming. So If for whatever reason Caleb doesn't see this warp prism flying by, which there may just be enough space, no, he should see it. Now he needs to get units on top of this ramp here, and he is distracting with the little Zealot warp in over here, so this is going very well for Gemini right now. Gemini can drop this off, he can block off the ramp, and yeah, he does. So warp prisms, or rather warp-ins of Zealots should be coming in here, as we can see now, and there should be another force field here on the ramp so it doesn't run out. There we go, that does block off the rest of it. So this is really irritating if you're the Zerg player. You need to be on top of where this warp prism is, and the little distraction of Zealots down here did cause a lot of trouble. He's still killing a lot of drones here, and this is the kind of thing where if you don't report to this correctly, it could just straight up end the game. So in the meantime, there are Colossus coming out here, so it doesn't look like there's any indication of a third base. In dealing this much damage, especially against Hydralisk tech, you could just say, alright, well, I've already slowed you down enough, I've killed enough workers, I can just all in you, and there's no way you're going to stop it. And that's definitely what we're going to see as 4 more gates are coming up here for Gemini. So this should be a pretty brutal follow-up. So it should be an interesting game here from this point. But Phoenixes still be annoying, lifting up the Hydralisks that do spawn out of here, so he even cancels the next one that was in production here. And the ramp is open now, but at this point there's almost enough units where Gemini could just kill it if it did come up. So the layer goes down. Soon to follow is going to be the Hydralisk den, as well as the spawning pool. So should be a there's a ton of damage being dealt here, obviously, but I think the follow-up here is just going to kill him. As you can see, Gemini is already well ahead in supply by about 35, give or take a few supply. So Gemini is really far ahead in this game, and of course this is just game 1, it is best of 3, so if this does end the game, then we will go to game 2, and it will be Caleb's map pick, so we'll have to figure out what happens here. But the Hydralisks do finally break up here. They will be able to kill these gateway units with minimal losses, but now there's a sentry drop trying to deny a base here. There's still a Zealot harass that might... No, that won't kill that base. The Queens will eventually get it. But even still, excuse me, the damage has been done, and there are enough Colossus now with enough sentries that you could just push out and do a devastating attack. As you can see, there are a lot of really good places for force fields on this map, so the follow-up is going to be really scary now. Should be pretty intense to see what the resulting battle is, but I have to imagine that Gemini is going to have a fairly easy time pushing in here and crushing this, considering his big supply lead, and he even has a lot of money floating right now that he's not spending. So third Colossus is coming out, and the third Colossus, along with everything else here, should basically be game over. There's not a lot that Caleb can do after taking that much damage and having this type of composition. Maybe if he had something like Swarm Hosts, he could delay it for long enough, but even still, that would be pretty rough. So Hydralisk coming up right now. We do see a Spire on the way, so I mean, if he can get Corruptors out in time, maybe Mutalisks, but there's even just not enough resources for that. Hydralisk come up here, and the Phoenixes basically eliminate half the army by just picking them up, and Caleb says GG and does quit out, so Gemini does take the first game. So, yeah, doing a really, really nice build there is Gemini. I guess we have to draw the most attention over to the fact that he was able to distract long enough to let that Warp Prism kind of come in and deal a lot of damage there. So, this is me. This right here is the Grumpy Cat, as you can see in the background, kind of keeping us company today. The person helping me out today is Mandy. She's actually the one who was responsible for putting all this, or rather having the idea for this tournament, and helping out with all the administration stuff. So she's hanging out next to me. She's shaking her head for some reason. She's still shaking her head. Now she's rocking out. All right. So it's the map pick of Caleb. So we will figure out what his map pick is, and we'll go into game 2 here in just a second. If I can find him. So we're just waiting for the map pick of Caleb here. Let me see what he wants. Oh yeah, and I forgot that there's a really cool bot that will post a replay of the last game that took place, so look out for that in chat, which I'm sure this is so delayed. I just saw it on mine. You probably have already seen it there for a long time, but it will post a replay if you wanted to see that, so check that out. Looks like our next map is going to be Deadwing, so we will get going on that map as well. Whoops. I'll just bring you guys into the game so that you can see what I'm seeing here. There we go. Of course, there are chat commands to look up a cause donation page as well as the brackets. Just what you should have seen on the screen there just a second ago, !Kyle or !brackets, so check that out. As soon as we get this all set up, we will get going. Let me ask the players if they're ready to go. Looks like Caleb is ready, and looks like we're good to go. So Deadwing is another new map. It's really weird, and I'm hoping that we get the weird spawn positions where you can actually spawn within like spitting distance of each other's third base. It's really strange. As you can see on the screen right now, there's a potential for both players to take a third right here, and if that's the case, then like tanks or Tempest or something sitting right there can just straight up hit the mineral line from the other side, no problem. So should be pretty intense. So we do have a fair number of people watching today. Thanks for coming out and supporting the stream, guys, and thanks for supporting Kyle as well. A lot of people that are just from the StarCraft community have actually donated to his cause, and it's really made a difference. And we are just waiting on checks to give to his family, so that should be really cool when that comes. But Game 2 is what's on the menu right now, and it is Gemini versus Caleb once again. Caleb feeling stronger in the blues, so he switches over to the blue Zerg. He's in the bottom right, and Gemini's in the bottom left. These are the spawn positions I was talking about, so check it out. If you're Gemini here, here's your natural. And then if you just scroll up just a little bit, here's your third. But there's the third of the Zerg right here. And there's also this weird pathway to connect each other's bases as well. So this map, especially in pro level games, is going to see really, really weird stuff on it. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to develop. But if the Zerg were to take a third base right here, Protoss could just make Tempest and just sit him right here and just laugh the entire game because he can get free shots on his workers all the time. So I figured that out and kind of showed my friend the hard way the other day after I took my third base and floated my mothership core over, and I'm like, wait, what? That's his base already? So it can result in really, really weird games. And it seems like every single time I played on this map, I've actually spawned in these two positions. So I don't know if these are forced to spawn next to each other like that, or if it's possible to spawn here or cross map or something. But I guess we'll see as time goes on. So that should be interesting to watch. So Caleb probably won't be happy if he knows about all this map architecture once he scouts Gemini, which he is scouting in the correct direction right now. He's going to go ahead and hatch first, and Gemini is doing something a little differently. Pylon in the main. This is actually probably going to be Nexus first, and then Forge in the main. So this is kind of a safer way to open Nexus first, I guess. At least in some regards as far as an early pool and stuff like that. I think this is going to be a Forge in the main. Sometimes people will just go Gate in the main, and that's a really greedy variation of Nexus First that I was talking about before. So, yeah, should be interesting. It does protect yourself against early pools, but it does have a little bit harder time against like moderately timed pools, like maybe 10 or 11 pool, because getting the pylon up and getting the cannons up and whatnot is kind of a pain in the butt. But it is going to be Gateway, so we'll have to see what he wants to do with that. Gateway expand after Nexus First is super greedy, but it opens up a lot of really fast warp gate timings, and 3 hatch before pool is what Caleb does, so he is responding appropriately to this, realizing that it is a Nexus First. He'll probably want to double check to see if this is a Gateway in the main or a Forge in the main, because usually when you see Nexus First, you're going to see a pylon down here, and then you can easily scout the position, scout the buildings that come down. So once the Overlord floats in here and sees what's going on, he should be able to kind of adjust to that. And the adjustment that you want to make is a faster gas, so you can stop warp gate timing. So we'll have to see if that's what he does. So he's floating in here, and he should see that this is a Gateway now, and hopefully make some alterations. You definitely want faster speed against something like this, because Nexus First into Gateway, it offers the best of both worlds. It's really fast economy, and it's really fast warp gate. So typically you want to choose a trade-off, but this build just says, no, I want both. And he's going to get both at this rate. Caleb really needs to take a gas here, though, and get Zergling speed as soon as possible so he can hold off any warp gate timings, or at least take gas for his Roach Warren so he can put stuff like that out as well. So, Cybernetics Core is on the way right now, and usually, like I was mentioning, this should be just a warp gate follow-up, usually on Nexus first and then Gateway expand immediately after. You don't really see too much different. I guess you could see something like super fast Stargate, but I don't think that that's what's going to be it. There is a Sentry and a Mothership Core on the way, so it really all indicates a faster Gateway timing. And by that I mean like a Gateway attack, not like Warp Gate's going to be done faster. Now there's a Forge on the way, so I don't know what this build is so far. Maybe if he drops a Twilight Council, that would make a lot more sense, but so far this is really strange. Lack of a wall, lack of extra buildings. I guess the whatever he walls with will give us more information, but if it's just 2 gateways, then it's continuing to remain ambiguous from that point. So I don't know what to say. So we'll have to see what happens here. So Forge is done now. Is he going to start +1? If that was the case, I would point it more towards like a Blink All-In or something, but no Twilight Council, only 3 gates, like we said, remains very ambiguous. It doesn't really tell us anything. This is an interesting wall as well. I haven't seen anything quite like this yet. Roach Warren's now on the way, so Caleb is doing that correctly as far as getting his structures down on time to be able to report to this. He is mining on 2 gases natural, though, and that's pretty unusual. I don't know if this is going to be for a build that's map specific. Maybe he could knock down these rocks and kind of get over to his opponent's base in no time. But there is a lair on the way. If he goes Hydralisk, I'm afraid he's going to put himself in the same position as last game, where this is a really good map for force fields, and this is just a really fast third from Gemini. So Caleb comes up here and scouts it, and he should try and target that probe, but the probe should live at this rate. Yeah, the Zerglings just kind of sat around for a little bit too long. Overlord's going to go down now, so Caleb, knowing everything that's going on right now, he's actually just missing a lot of drones. He's sitting on quite a number of minerals. That doesn't even make sense. Quite a high amount of minerals, and not spending on anything, but now we see roaches coming out. Typically against a super fast thrower like that, you want to take your own fast 4th, or try to punish, but his drone count is just a little too low. 48 drones versus 47 probes. So if Caleb goes back and watches this, he'll be able to see, okay, there's a lot of points where I can just watch my money and notice that there's no drones on the production tab. And right as I was saying that, 15 drones do flood in. So his drone count is getting better at this rate, but even still, he is kind of in a rough spot economically. 59 drones against a Protoss that almost has a 3rd base finished is pretty scary. Hydralisk Den is on the way now. I almost think that if you were Caleb, something that might work in this situation, especially with these spawn positions, is actually drops. Hydralisk drops against this type of army would be really strong, depending on if you could get them all in there that way. Another annoying thing that I haven't seen quite yet is abusing this ledge since it's so close to the side here. So I wonder if we're going to see like force fields on the drones and stuff like that. And look at this warp in position. This is so crazy. You warp in, you walk 2 feet, and you're at your opponent's base. So this is so weird. Spore Crawler is on the way now, and here comes the little gateway timing. It just seems like it's right next door, which it absolutely is. And this is pretty scary right now. The Hydralisks need to finish up. Force fields do come down to try and limit some surface area. Caleb just immediately evacuates his drones and says, you know, I need time to hold this. And this base is probably going to die at this rate, considering how many force fields are available. He could actually just kill this base and go home, I would imagine, but there's so few units here that he can actually just straight up fight. Mothership Core dies, does drop a decent time warp, I suppose. More force fields coming out, kind of pinning the corners, or rather pinning the Hydralisk into a little ball there. This 3rd is actually not mining at all. This could have been just a fake 3rd all-in, which I guess is possible, but at this rate he may have just figured, you know, I'm just going to test him and see what he has, and if he doesn't have enough, I'll just kill him. So that's what we're seeing here. Caleb says GG, Gemini advances on to the next round, and he will actually face Grubby in the next match. I'm not sure what we're going to actually broadcast, so let me check up on the status of the brackets here. If there's nothing else going on, maybe we'll continue to stay on Gemini and have him versus Grubby on the menu next. So let's see.